It's the AFC South edition of Offseason Overhaul. We're going to look at each team in this division and what they've done, what they've added, what they need to do at the draft. AFC South, not the strongest division, I think, in the opinion of most NFL fans. Mike.
Yeah, that's evident, you know, by their history and all the records and the dealings and whatnot. But I think they're a lot tougher than people give them credit for. You look at the Jaguars, we very well could have lost that game. We had to depend on one play at the end of the game to be made for us to pull out that win. Then, you know, the Titans, kind of embarrassed us.
How many did they score on them?
I believe it was, what was it, 47
About
points?
47, and then DeMarco Murray. Everybody talks about Ezekiel Elliott. You guys played Ezekiel Elliott twice. DeMarco Murray had the best rushing game against us all season, okay? That's just all too. He had a better rushing game against us with the Titans than he did when he was with the Cowboys.
So you're in the trenches right there. You're playing the D. DeMarco Murray's running right up the gut. Why were they so good that day?
They just brought it. They brought it and we didn't. That's just all to it. And then the Colts, we lost to the Colts.
In Lambeau. In
Lambeau, which, you know, that hardly ever happens, losing in Lambeau. So then the Texans was a tough game as well. They're a dome team down south. They came in the freezing cold. It was snow, and those guys came and fought. That was one of our more physical games. So
I love this take
division.
because I think 9-7 division champs, the Texans win the division with Osweiler, I don't know, sort of unheralded, I guess.
Goes back to that thing about the defense, right?
Yeah. Look at it. Way to bring it back to 7-8.
I'm just saying. It's just a fact.
All right, so let's talk about the Jags. You mentioned them. You played all of these teams just last year, and this is what they've done since, right? So Blake Bortles, still the quarterback. This is looking at the additions and the departures there.
Wow.
That's great. We can talk about all the moves that they made. I can't even read it. There's so many. But to me, the Jags are the king of the offseason overhaul, right? They make all these moves, and we love talking about them in March and in April. But Tom Coughlin, let's talk about an offseason overhaul cultural change there, which is, I think, maybe the reason to believe and buy into some of the things that the Jags are doing. We had Anshul Rowe, who'll be here later. Tell us about Coughlin and how he just comes in and he changes it. You're gonna play by his rules and listen to him and be disciplined. And it's a cultural thing and he has a credibility down there in Jacksonville, in the league, of course. So I'm mostly excited about that. I know they added a bunch of defensive weapons, but to me, Tom Coughlin will be the difference maker.
You can always add defensive weapons. Well, adding weapons anywhere, that's always going to help. But there's a guy that they let go, and I have to thank them for that, Devon House. We picked him back up. He's a Green Bay guy, and I'm extremely excited to have him back there in our corner room. So, thank you, Jaguars, for letting us get Devon back. And from what I understand, they signed Calais Campbell. Yep. Is that right? So you signed Malik Jackson, you signed Calais Campbell. Clearly they're trying to make a statement, send a message to quarterbacks in their division that we're coming.
Yeah, and AJ Bouye, they defensively look great.
They look great. And interestingly enough, this is a big year for Bortles because you went through some different coaches now, and now it's Doug Marrone's the coach. Coughlin's in there. Is Bortles the guy? He had a good year 2 years ago, did not play well last year. To me, it's all on this guy's shoulders, and the jury's out. You guys played against him.
Okay.
Are you, do you lose sleep over Blake Bortles the night before?
I will say this, I'm surprised they only won 3 games. I think he had a very good, strong game against us. Watching his film going into that season, we knew that he was going to be one of the better quarterbacks. Now, unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way this year, so I don't know. I wouldn't give up on him just yet. I've seen some things out of him. I played against him. Big, strong guy. He takes command of that offense. So we'll see. We'll see.
The key there, as you say, it's all on his shoulders. Let's take it off of his shoulders. Number 4 overall pick, Leonard Fournette. If he's there, how helpful would that be to balance off that offense? Colts, you're up.
Colts, let's go through them. They beat you guys in Lambeau last year, and they missed the playoffs despite having Andrew Luck at quarterback. In this offseason, what they do, new general manager Chris Ballard came in, and he made them tougher. You look at their acquisitions, a lot on the defensive side of the ball, and big boys at that. Al Woods, Margus Hunt, the big man from Estonia, Jabal Sheard from the Patriots, Johnny Simon, Sean Spence, Barkevius Mingo. What do they all have in common? Big bodies. They can get to the quarterback. This is what they want to do. They want to establish up front, be tough, and try to protect Andrew Luck on the offensive line. They've got a pick in the teens. I would be shocked if they didn't go with another pass rusher or an offensive lineman. to protect Mr. Andrew Luck.
How about the Colts? They lost their punter to a blog, right?
Yeah.
Pat McAfee gone. Here's a GMFB memory right here. Remember the term exotic smash mouth?
Yes.
Very September, very August. That was the Titans' run game. Probably didn't feel very exotic to you because it was just the smash mouth part for you guys. Tough
It
day.
was just a smash mouth.
But to your point, DeMarco was incredible. Here's the deal. Bring up the acquisitions and losses for the Titans. These are obviously important and everything. We had lost a few players. We gained a few players. We lost the heart of the team in Valentino Blake. But most importantly, guys, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do in this draft? Because we have the 5 pick. This is a precious, precious pick, and we have Marcus Mariota. There it is right there. Marcus Mariota going into his 3rd year, coming off an injury. So you might say, this is massive for him. Let's get him another wide receiver. Let's get him a weapon. I say no. Awful, awful pass defense last year. I mean, 30th. Everyone was lighting him up. Mariota seems like he's going to be great. I look at that 5 pick and I look at Malik Hooker, the guy who jumps off the screen. His highlights incredible. He tests incredible. I would go for him. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, Mike. More so with this team symbolically, I would have one message the entire offseason, and that's we need to beat the Colts. We have not beaten the Colts in 11 straight games. They have never won at Lucas Oil Stadium. They have never beaten Andrew Luck. The last time the Titans beat the Colts, it was the suck for luck year with Curtis Painter. Years ago. Javon Ringer was their leading rusher.
Javon Ringer, Michigan State.
So, you know, I kind of joked about the Packers' dominance of the Bears, but this is no joke because you can't come out and say, we're exotic smash mouth when the Colts smash you in the mouth every single time. How do you, as a player in the division, you have rivals you play twice a year. How do you deal with that monkey off the back? How do you deal with that pure domination? You haven't been on that end of it. You've been on the dominating end.
Well, I haven't experienced it within the division, but I have experienced it outside the division. The 49ers, the Seahawks, those were teams that we struggled with, and then in recent games, we've brought the noise back to them. And to get that monkey off of your back is everybody just has to come together and understand that this team has beaten us, and they've beaten us bad in the past. We have to have the pride to make sure that doesn't happen again. We have to make sure we have the focus to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I remember our Seahawks game this year was probably our most spirited game, if you will. Very chippy, a lot of tempers, because, quite frankly, we don't like them and they don't like us. And that's just how it goes. So exotic smash mouth, whatever you want to call it, if everybody just comes together and says we refuse, absolutely refuse to lose to this team, they won't lose.
Love it.
Texans are the final team, and they actually won the division last year, but their quarterback position is a bit of a question mark. You look at their offseason, the big move was getting rid of Brock Osweiler, trading him for a 2018 second-round pick, but they also shed all of that salary. I like Johnny Simon, the kid out of Ohio State, who was playing for them last year. He's now with the rival Colts. But you look at what they did, brought in Shane Leckler, who's a better punter than what they had, and Ryan Griffin, not much. And the big story there, Tom Savage. It's not Tony Romo.
I don't see Romo's name on there.
It ain't Tony Romo. It's Tom Savage. You're on a division champion team that made it all the way to the divisional round. Is Tom Savage ready for this responsibility?
I think he is. And if you're an NFL quarterback, you have to be ready no matter who you are. You see guys step in all the time and play well when there's a trade, there's an injury, or what have you. But much like Russell Wilson, he's got a tough defense that's going to allow him to grow. You look at the emergence of Jadeveon Clowney and Whitney Merciless is playing exceptionally well. Then J.J. Watt is coming back this year. So you add him into the mix of those guys, well, then that number one defense is going to they'll probably stay up there.
It's almost like you tell your quarterback, don't hurt us, right? Like, don't turn the ball over.
Reserve the right
Stay
to punt. Right. Seriously, you win games punting.
Yeah, and you saw they got another punter, another kicker, so you see where they know the importance of those positions as well.
That's the AFC South. For more on the Titans, Colts, the Jags, and the Texans, you can check out Greg Rosenthal's offseason overhaul piece on the AFC South at NFL.com/offseason overhaul for a complete breakdown of that division.